Baba Vanga. Baba Vanga's story begins in the quiet stillness of 1911, in a small village surrounded by dusty fields and low, rolling hills. It was a place where life moved slowly, where neighbors knew each other by the sound of footsteps, and where hope came from prayer, community, and the rhythm of everyday survival. Her birth name was Vangelia Pandeva Dimitrova. She was just a small girl then, gentle, observant, and always curious. She loved the warmth of the sun on her face, the feeling of soft earth under her feet, and the comfort of her family's voices. Her childhood was simple, but filled with the fragile beauty of rural life. And then, one day, the winds changed. A powerful storm rolled through the village, darker and stronger than any she had ever seen. The sky roared, the air trembled, and a fierce gust swept her into the air and threw her to the ground. Dust, sand, and debris filled her eyes, causing an injury her family could not heal. Slowly, over the years that followed, the world around her dimmed, until she could no longer see the shapes of trees, or the smiles of her loved ones, or the horizon she once watched so closely. And yet, something new began to grow in the space where her sight had once been. At first, it was subtle. She would sense things before they happened. She would know when a neighbor was ill, even before they spoke of it. She could feel the emotions of people who stood in silence beside her. Over time, villagers began to visit the blind girl, not out of pity, but for help, for answers, for comfort. Her words were soft and simple. She spoke gently, without drama or grandness, yet her visitors would leave with widened eyes and trembling hands, whispering, "She told me something I never revealed, something she couldn't have known." As the years moved forward and the world slipped into the turmoil of war, more and more people found their way to her door. Mothers of soldiers came to ask about their sons. Farmers asked about their harvest. Leaders, both local and powerful, arrived quietly, hoping she could shine a little light onto the darkness ahead. Even King Boris III visited her. It is said she sensed a shadow around him, a warning that echoed later when the king died under mysterious circumstances. After that, people believed even more strongly that Baba Vanga saw the world through a different kind of vision, not with her eyes, but with something deeper, something inward, something ancient. Her home in Petric became a place many traveled far to reach. Some walked for hours, some rode on dusty carts. Others came by car, stepping out nervously, unsure what they were seeking, but drawn by stories carried from village to village. Inside her small room, the air was still, warm, and hushed. People often cried before speaking, and she would sit quietly, gently holding their hands, offering words that seemed to touch their deepest fears and hopes. She lived a life of simplicity, a life without wealth, without luxury, without ambition. She accepted small gifts, flour, cloth, sugar, anything visitors brought in gratitude. But she considered her purpose something greater, to guide, to soothe, to heal, and to warn. When she passed away in 1996, the world did not stop, but many hearts felt a shift. It was as if a familiar light had gone out, leaving behind a soft glow, a memory, a legend. Her home became a museum, a quiet place where people still come, not to seek predictions, but to feel the presence of someone who touched lives for decades. And then there are her prophecies, the ones she is said to have seen clearly, long before the world caught up. People often speak first of the tragedy of the Kursk submarine. Long before the disaster, she reportedly said that Kursk would be swallowed by water and the entire world would weep. At the time, some thought she meant the Russian city, but when the submarine sank, her words took on a haunting new meaning. Others say she foresaw the fall of the Soviet Union, something unimaginable at the time. Her followers recall her speaking of division, collapse, and a new future rising from the ruins of old systems. Many link her visions to Chernobyl, believing she warned of a northern nuclear disaster that would poison the land. And some insist she foresaw the events of 9/11, though these stories are debated and woven more from legend than record. Whether these were true prophecies, or the result of memory, reinterpretation, and myth, they planted the belief that Baba Vanga somehow glimpsed parts of the future. And then come the predictions for 2026, a year spoken of often in whispers, in articles, in documentaries, and in late-night conversations. These predictions say that 2026 will be a year of global turbulence, a year where tensions rise, not suddenly, but like a slow-building storm finally breaking open. Some versions speak of a conflict expanding, stretching across continents, reshaping alliances and altering the course of nations. Others tell of an economic crisis that rattles the world, currencies shifting, markets trembling, and ordinary people feeling the weight of uncertainty. There are prophecies of natural disasters touching a significant part of the earth. Heat waves, floods, fires, a planet expressing its imbalance in dramatic ways. Technology appears again and again in these stories. Artificial intelligence surpassing expectations, systems becoming unstable, cyber attacks shaking financial and governmental foundations. In some retellings, machines begin to test the limits of human control. And then, more mysterious still, are the stories that claim 2026 brings a sign from beyond Earth. A signal, a discovery, a moment when humanity realizes it is not alone. Finally, there are the predictions of a shifting world order, with power moving away from traditional Western nations and rising more strongly in Asia, especially in China. A quiet, gradual, yet undeniable transformation of global influence. These stories create a picture of 2026 as a year of deep change, a year that marks the beginning of something new, something challenging, something history will remember. And beyond 2026, the timeline stretches into decades and centuries of speculation. Predictions describe a sparsely populated Europe, the rise of new energy sources, breakthroughs that reduce hunger, melting ice caps and rising seas, underwater cities, new political systems, human journeys into space, cures for diseases once considered impossible, and finally, far into the distant future, visions of humanity's last chapter. Some say the year 5079 marks the end. Others believe it marks a transformation. But these far future prophecies belong more to dreams than to history, woven into the mythic tapestry that surrounds Baba Vanga's name. And yet, there is something soothing about them, a sense that someone, somewhere, tried to look ahead and imagine what humanity might become. In the end, Baba Vanga's story is not just a story of predictions. It is a story of a woman who lived with extraordinary presence, a woman who listened deeply to human sorrow and spoke in gentle, symbolic waves, a woman whose darkness became a doorway through which others felt seen. And tonight, as you listen, letting your breathing slow, letting your thoughts drift like soft leaves on water, her life becomes a reminder that mystery still exists, that intuition, compassion, and quiet wisdom can leave a deeper mark than any fame or fortune. Baba Vanga's legacy is a whisper carried across decades, a reminder that every life, no matter how humble, can shape the world in ways we may never fully understand.